So the Nebraska trip went really well with Mom and Aunt Karen, and then all of the family down in Nebraska, of course. And I was nervous about my neck. 12 hours on the road there, then several days of driving and walking around, and then 12 hours back, like a total of 7 days in between chiropractic adjustments and all of that activity. It come to find out the driving itself, I held up decently well. I mean, it affected me somewhat, and the impact of driving itself makes me a little sleepy as I'm driving, so I can't drive as far as I used to. I mean, there was a time when I worked a full shift in a factory and then drove 15 hours straight through a snowstorm to Vermont and got there and did a bunch of stuff. So actually, I went to a dinner and then went to a dance party, and then I had a chess game with a chess master, which I lost, but we played right down to the last few pieces. It would have been a much better story if I beat him. And as part of an interview process, it was pretty crazy. And now, like a few hours of driving, I'm like, ooh, I'm kind of tired. But it wasn't a strong lasting effect. It didn't seem to be. I also carried some tables and chairs around while I was there, and I was a little nervous about that as well. I was nervous about basically all of this stuff, and that seems to go fairly well too. So I'm going to move through from the 3 pound weights I've been using, 3 pound hammers. I'm going to keep being really careful with my movement, but I'm going to move up to a 6 pound hammer and see how the 6 pound weight goes. I'm hoping that's not going to be too much of a jump. I mean, it's a double, so it's a big jump percentage wise, but it's 3 pounds, so it's a small jump weight wise. So we'll see how that goes. And it was great seeing Amy and Jameson and Mackenzie. Of course, she's the one graduating, and Keenan and Zane and everyone else that's down there. Rita was down there. I got to see her again, and yeah, and everyone. So that it was a nice trip. The one day we spent 6 hours walking around the zoo, and when it feels like we saw like half of it, and over those 6 hours, and we were moving at a pretty good pace. So pretty crazy zoo down there. I had an adjustment today. I did feel a little sleepy after that. My atlas was quite out of place. The entire right side of my spine had started being more sore a few days ago. But I wasn't noticing significant cognitive declines. Even at this point, I was noticing minor cognitive declines. So I was having a harder time pay, paying attention to two things, which is actually switching your focus rapidly back and forth and still tracking it, but not bad. Wasn't noticing major memory stuff or anything like that. In the spring, I've noticed over the last couple of years my allergies to plants and food, of course, and everything seems to be worse than it ever has been, and I can really feel that in the air. I got a new car. Bought it yesterday. I got it registered and everything today, so I have that Buick Park Avenue. That's just it's three working brakes. When I came back from Nebraska, I had to fill up the brake fluid because it leaks, and that only got up to the three brakes working, and it's dragging the exhaust system with a chain attached, and it's got two broken struts, and all the door handles are broken, and two of the windows are broken, and the windshield's cracked, and it not only leaks brake fluid, but it leaks gas and oil and coolant, and there's a bunch of other stuff wrong with it. So a lot of stuff wrong with that one, to the point of where it makes no sense to try to put parts, put good parts onto super rusted parts, and the frame itself is coming apart. So I was nervous about the money for that. Now, the money that I had for that, because I knew this was coming up. I mean, my computer's held together with tape. My boots have been stitched together a couple of times, and they're ripped apart again. I've been wearing them for years, and my car is just absolutely falling apart and dragging down the road. So I knew I was going to have to put out some money here. And I took that $50 I placed on the last presidential election on a website in Europe that I made $150 on, plus the $500 that I had made from writing articles on a website. So I combined that to $650. I put that into Bitcoin, didn't sell it when it was at its highest, but it came back down and it was still up a decent amount. So I got $2,500 out of that. And that's the money that I have slotted for all of these things, plus a lot of other stuff that I want to do, of course, and hopefully launch some sort of business here. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to make enough income working essentially with limited hours to make the amount of money that I need. And I'm really glad that I found this town car. I thought there might be something majorly wrong with it, but it was a person's retirement car, essentially, old guy is 95, but it's the highest level Lincoln town car at the time. I don't know how you say it. I assume it's Cartier, but it likes like a Cartier, and with all of the add-ons. The thing is, almost all of it still works. Like the keypad and the door still works. The moonroof still works. Get this. So it has, in 95, it had a 10 CD changer that is in the trunk, right? Pretty advanced at that time because this was a top level vehicle. And which actually is pretty nice. So it doesn't have any of the old stuff. It still has the temperature control where you just set the temperature and stuff. Although it blows air hard, but the air conditioning doesn't work, and the heat might be a little light. But anyways, it's almost like it's not old because it was so advanced for the time that it'd be at what I would consider normal level. But it has this 10 CD changer, and Mom and I went and checked it out because it was like trying to play the CDs, and it would play one a little bit, but not quite. And I mean, it was just really dusty. And we open it up, look at the CDs. It has 10 CDs in it. And because it didn't want to come out, so I had to help it a little bit with the eject button, but then it started working fine, and I think just no one's used it in quite a while. It looked like the last time that someone had been in it was maybe 2011. We saw a date on something, and for the CD thing, at least, probably that's when the eject button stopped working, and they didn't pull on it a little bit and press it at the same time. But I worked that a few times, and that seems to be working fine. And the CDs were sticking just a little bit, and I worked that a little bit, and that seems to be working fine too. So, and there's like 2 Linkin Park CDs in there. There was a couple of like Bible CDs. There was a techno disc. There was an interesting array, but one of them is from the Harvest Bible Church down in Spring Lake. I don't know. I'll find out what's on it, I guess. But put that all back together and stuff, and it's in there. It's a 23-year-old car 10-disc CD changer that works. It's incredible. So much of the stuff works. It was just well taken care of, and there's some rust on it. I mean, it's in Michigan, but it was definitely stored inside and probably not driven very much in winter, at least for most of its life, I imagine, because there's not very much rust on it. And I was talking to a mechanic, and he said when you get back into the mid 90s, they use a different gauge of steel in a lot of cars than when you get into the late 90s, 2000s. So you'll find that a lot of times a 95 car will be less rusted than a 2000 car because there's a difference in the gauge of steel. So very interesting. He's asking, he already bought another truck and stuff, and he's a family guy. He's relatively young. He's the grandson of the guy that originally had it, which I assume he died, although we didn't really get into that. And he was asking 900 for it. He was just trying to get some cash out of it. I mean, the thing is, it's like it used to be a cool car, but no one that wants a cool car is going to buy it now because some of the upholstery has tears in it and stuff like that. Still looks nice on the outside and still works really well on the inside. Doesn't look bad on the inside. Or it could be a family car because big old 4-door car, but the 2 windows in back don't work, little stuff like that maybe a family wouldn't like, which originally they thought maybe the doors didn't open from the back and the inside, but I read through the user manual last night, and a lot of people don't read those things, but it does have the child safety lock, and I was able to find them. They were kind of hidden back there in the door itself instead of in like the keypad or anything like that. So I went back there and flipped those switches, and now those open from the inside perfectly well also. But if he'd been telling people that the rear doors don't open from the inside, and maybe people with a family wouldn't want it for that reason. So you got a cool car that isn't really cool anymore, so no one really wants it for that reason, or you got a potential family car that people probably didn't want to have the hassle of getting in and out of the back or not using the back windows. So no family wanted it. So he's trying to get rid of this thing cheap, and he had it for a while because I messaged him before I went to Nebraska. And right, like a handful of days later, I came back, he still had it. So I got it for $700 cash. And today I put insurance on it this morning with AAA over the phone, and then went to Fremont for the Secretary of State. I got ticket number 59. They were on 45. For the first half an hour, they were still on number 45. The guy next to me is like, man, I'm not going to make it. I have to leave. He has ticket 49, so 10 spots ahead of me. He gives me his 49 ticket, and then finally the guy that was like stuck on 45 left, and we zipped through them in a few minutes. Got up there not long after that. So not even a bad day at the Secretary of State, which can be a rare event. I'm going to change up my diet a decent amount. So I've been getting 2 to 3 gallons of goat's milk a week. I'm going to reduce that way down because I feel a little bit better not on the goat's milk, but it's tiny. I feel pretty darn good on the goat's milk, but I'm going to reduce it down to a ½ gallon a week and essentially treat it as a treat. And then I'm going to add in a cheat day though, or maybe just like a cheat meal, because I had so I decided to start out my cheat day yesterday, and that went very poorly, right? Like you don't want to cheat with stuff that you're going to wake up in the middle of the night and have the runs. Like that's, you know, so I need to find the things that I can cheat with and still be okay on. That'll be a bit of an experiment. And one cheat meal every 2 weeks, I'm thinking. And if I feel bad for 48 hours, like that's not good enough. If I feel bad for 24 hours, not good enough. If I feel bad for 12 hours, you know, we're getting to the point where it might be worth it. Like 12 hours every 14 days might be worth being able to eat some really, you know, good stuff that I haven't been able to eat for many months now. And because yeah, and I got to get better at cooking steak. I suck at cooking steak, and hamburger patties get old fast, and I can eat some shrimp, but that gets kind of expensive, and that would get old fast too if you were just eating that. And the raw goat's milk changes it up, but I don't feel quite. It's just, you know, just a little bit, but I got to keep trying to get better. So I'm going to reduce that down. And it'll be interesting. We'll see. In like 2 weeks, I'm thinking about trying like Moscato and chocolate. Because yesterday I just went kind of crazy. And you know, I mean, I've been really strict for like a handful of months now, and I had like 9 pieces of Bernio's pizza, some of their spicy pizza and some of their twist pizzas, super good. I had 1 can of pineapple in heavy syrup, and I had 1 bowl of apple juice, or oh, I wrote down apple juice. That should be applesauce, which cinnamon applesauce is just, I mean, that was amazing. Super good. I had a bottle of sweet tea. I had a little Rice Krispie treat with some M&Ms in it, and I had 4 little chocolate treats. And yeah, that did not work at all. So, but there's so much I don't know what would cause what, so I have to experiment with that a little bit on cheat days as well. I'm thinking Moscato and chocolate might be worth a try. But also, you know, like one time maybe spaghetti might be worth a try, because that would be amazing. Once every 2 weeks to have a lot of spaghetti would be really good. So we'll see how that goes. That'll be an interesting experiment. I just ordered, I'm attempting to make a cheap little carport for this car because I park under a tree, and especially this car has a moonroof, and all that crap gets in there, and that thing starts leaking. Right now it doesn't leak. We just had a hard rain. The moonroof definitely doesn't leak. I don't want it to start leaking, and I want to try to get a few years out of this car. It's got 200,000 miles on it, but these types of cars can go 300,000 miles. That would not be unreasonable, especially with the condition that it's in. Now I need to get rotors and brakes and sway bar links, but so a few $100s I need to get in it. He was asking 900. I got it for 700 cash. Talked him down a little bit, so not bad at all to put in brakes and rotors. You know, it'd be $700, but not a huge deal. And I ordered a little carport to help protect it, so hopefully that helps with the rust a little bit. We'll see if it'll hold up in winter. It probably won't, but I'll definitely play with it. And then I also ordered heavier hammers because I've been working out with those little 3-pound hammers, and we'll see, because those chairs and tables, moving those around, I thought maybe I can go a little heavier, because if I pull my neck out of place, it's not good. And you know, it really sucks. So I don't want to try to move up too fast, too hard, or anything like that. But if I can move up to some heavier weights, because I had up to 200 reps with just 2 exercises I was doing, the ones where I push it back like this, and the other ones where I start low and then I swing them out. I got up to 200 each with a few minutes in between, and I mean, it's, you know, not bad. But now I'm essentially starting to train like an endurance type thing, which would be fine, but I would like to be able to lift more than 3 pounds in each hand. So we'll see when I get those hammers how that goes. Let's see, I guess last major thing. So Karen and I, and Karen Yarrington, we talked a lot about like psychology and stuff on the trip. Super interesting. And the day before, we left at 2 a.m. So the day right before that, I read my first article on hope theory, which is crazy because hope theory is very well documented with research for the last 20 years, just over 20 years, by a guy named Snyder. And it's highly associated with happiness and meaning in life and resilience and all sorts of stuff. And it's amazing. I can't believe I've missed this aspect of psychology. I probably encountered it at a similar time, maybe dismissed it as a little self-help thing. I don't know. But the basic idea is that you have like wishes, values, goals, wants pop up into existence, and then essentially you try to look at different pathways of how you can attain that thing. And the more pathways that you can see for attaining that thing, the more hope you'll have. Plus, if you're willing to walk down one of those paths, and those things, there's a bunch of feedback loops. And then, of course, pursuing the actual thing. And basically, your emotional regulation is based on whether it seems like you're making progress towards your goals. Super interesting thing. Integrates really well with logotherapy from Viktor Frankl, which are creative, experiential, and attitudinal values, and some of Freud's early stuff, which I've been diving back into, and I'm going to work on reading his interpretation of dreams. I have, two huge stacks of books that I'm reading right now about is pleasure principle and reality principle, but I think he messed up the pleasure principle with his own little oddly messed up thinking about his focus on sex, and he very limited it because pleasure is a lot more than that, right? It can be pleasurable watching a movie if you want, after watching a sunset or eating a candy bar or whatever it happens to be. And if you include that, right, let's call it like the wish principle. You wish certain things, and those wishes collide with reality. And that's actually part of what creates, creates your daydreams, it creates your night dreams, it creates your fantasies, it creates art, it creates fiction, it also creates neurosis and psychosis. So it depends on how your wishes and your reality collide. But that integrates very nicely with this hope theory and with logotherapy. So super interesting stuff, super interesting stuff. Anyways, there's a bunch more stuff happening, and I'm not going to tell you all of it because I think, yeah, we're at 17 minutes now, so I want to try to cut out of this thing 20 minutes. I don't like doing 30-minute ones. I just feel like who would want to watch this for 30 minutes? So I try to cut it out earlier, but it seems like I have a lot to say. And I've been talking faster recently, I guess, too. Oh, and I got to contact the one woman about the bee therapy. That's one of my next major health experiments. We'll see how that goes. That it seems risky, and it could be a risk that goes in a good direction or a bad direction. We'll see how it goes, but that has to go in my to-do list. And I've a wedding I'm officiating for Ashley and Joshua. That'll be his name in the wedding, at least in like a week. So that'll be just over a week. So that'll be super interesting too. And I have the script and everything filled out for that they've been looking at, and I have to start rehearsing that a little bit more. I've been doing a little bit. But yeah, so until next time,